Okay, so Dragon Quest is our first book. Although available in the UK for a number of years, this is the first time this is published in the US. Kids who love adventures, fantasy, and scary quests will eat this up. An old grizzled knight calls out to a boy reading a book in a comfortable chair that it is time to accompany him on a quest to find and conquer the last dragon. On the way, they must go through awful perils, through shifting sands, past snakes, scorpions, wolves, goblins, witches, and all manner of fantastic beings. The knight is unintentionally funny as he continues to boast about his bravery and accomplishments. The end is a surprise for the reader and will be very satisfying. The illustrations, as you can see, are lush and melodramatic. There is one distressing thing, though. There are very sexist endnotes from both the Australian publisher and the illustrator that talk about this as an exploration of what it means to be a man and the passing of the mantle of manhood.
Ooh.
But that's not in the story, so just tear those. No, don't. I can say anything I do, please now. Knock, knock. A poignant, touching, sad, but hopeful tale that will resonate with too many kids. The narrator, a young boy, has a morning routine with his father. The father goes, knock, knock. The boy pretends to be asleep until the dad gets right next to his bed, and then the boy hops into his arms and hears the reassuring words, I love you. But one morning, there is no knock, knock. No dad to make their special scrambled eggs. No dad to help with homework. He is gone, and the boy is left alone with his mom, sad and confused. Finally, a letter arrives from his dad, which says, Dear son, ask your mama to help you make those scrambled eggs we love. Remember to do your homework before you watch TV. I am sorry I will not be coming home. For every lesson I will not be there to teach you, hear these words. As you grow older, shave in one direction with strong, deliberate strokes to avoid irritation. Dribble the page with the brilliance of your ballpoint pen. No longer will I be there to knock on your door, so you must learn to knock for yourself. Knock, knock down the doors that I could not. Knock, knock to open new doors to your dreams. Knock, knock for me, for as long as you become your best, the best of me still lives in you. Knock, knock with the knowledge that you are my son and you have a bright, beautiful future. For despite my absence, you are still here. Knock, knock. Who's there? You are. Yeah.
Where'd he go? In jail?
Now, children, if you just wait a minute. It never states why the dad is gone, but endnotes tell us that this happened to the author when his father went to jail. Collier's collage paintings are particularly moving and meaningful. He got a Coretta Scott King honor for his work. The palette darkens and lightens according to the circumstances, and repeated themes of an elephant, the boy is afraid he will forget his dad, and a paper airplane signifying flying to his dad's side, are subtle unifying threads. All libraries should have this.
Yeah.
And the cars go. In the same style as Bees and the Trains Go, this celebrates the sounds and details of all kinds of vehicles that are stopped in a traffic jam, starting with a motorcycle that goes vroom, 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 followed by a family station wagon off on vacation that goes brum, 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 and ending with the culprit, escaped sheet who go, bah. How did you know? Who go, bah, bah, bah. Readers will have a ball hamming up the sounds, and kids will pore over the details of the vehicles. And for a bonus, Bee has hidden 15 snails in the pictures, a challenge for all. And for even sharper eyes, there is a message on the back of the title page. Highlighted letters spell out. And you will absolutely not be able to see this from a distance, but I'm going to show you anyhow, because I saw it all by myself. Some of these letters you might be able to see are in bold, and they spell out, gentlemen, start your engines. Oh. Isn't it good I found that out for you?
That's really good. Thank you.
Tap, tap, boom, boom. An infectious onomatopoetic verse bluntly shows how community be created by a sudden storm as folks hurry to put up their umbrellas and then seek shelter underground in the subway. And I'll just read you a slight bit here to give you the feel of it. Tap, 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 slap feet, shoes flap. Feet wetter, you'd better go down underground where the water can't get you. You betcha. It's all fun, sharing pizza, a woman handing a child an umbrella because he doesn't have one, and the excitement of the Thunder Boomers. There are a couple of questionable rhymes, but overall the verse is effective and energizing. Karas's illustrations are paintings of people and their activities over grayed-out photographs of buildings and a subway entrance. Inside, outside. This wordless book offers contrasting looks at what is happening in a young boy's inside and outside worlds as we move through the seasons. Glimpsed through die-cut pages, each spread leads to the next and incorporates many small stories as they go. 2 mice can be found on every inside page. After the boy finds a turtle, it can be seen on every inside and every outside page. The pages are gouache on brown craft paper, making this whole look very artsy crafty, which the child is. Use this to inspire creativity on your kids' part or to help them develop visual acuity as they notice more and more each time they turn the pages.
That author lives in Norwich.
Well, you know, I know that, and I've never met her in my whole life. How is that possible?
Go to the craft fair.
Go to the craft. She's so. This is called "What's Your Favorite Animal?" and the author is Eric Carle and Friends. And what it is each of these 10 or 12 illustrators has been asked to what is his or her favorite animal. So each one has chosen a different way to celebrate that animal. It could be a story, it could be like a comic strip, it could be a poem. And so we have, this is giraffes Tom Lichten held. Though meeting a giraffe is rare, you must be prepared not to stare. They're easily amused, so don't be confused. Just say, hey, how's the weather up there? That's not very funny, is it? This is John Klassen.
I love it.
Duck. Most times when you see a duck in a story, it's not very smart. Usually it is in the middle of falling for a trick somebody is playing on it. But I like ducks. I like watching them walk around. That's it. That's the whole thing. So each of them has a double-page spread. I wanted to show you, well,
Which is Eric Carle's name?
a cat.
What?
I had to jump right over that part. But I will do an elephant, which is Lane Smith. I was trying to decide what my favorite animal was when an elephant reminded me that pachyderms were my favorite. I asked, what's a pachyderm? The elephant said, it's an elephant. I said, why didn't you just say elephant? Elephants are my favorite animals, but sometimes they are show-offs.
How cute.
It's pretty cute. So obviously there are a lot of curricular applications, also known as having fun. Deep in the Sahara, Lala very much wants to have a malafa, the head covering and draped robe the Muslim women in Mauritania wear. She envies how it makes her mother beautiful, her sister mysterious, the village women adults. Each time she mentions one of these attributes, she is told that the malafa is much more than what she sees. When she asks for a malafa so she can pray like her mother agrees that she is ready, and Lala ends by saying, a malafa is for faith. This is a simple, poetic introduction to a religion and clothing that most of our children are not familiar with. The text is poetic, and the illustrations use line and brilliant color to create a taste of place. I love these illustrations. Me too! Another Holiday House's very easy to read book series called I Like to Read. This is the very simple story of the friendship between Bear and Chipmunk. Each thing that Bear says, Chipmunk echoes with "me too" as they go out on a winter's day to shovel, skate, and play in the snow. Sentences are short, repetition is key, and humor is added with the illustrations, which often play on the size differences. Jacob's new dress. Jacob is a gender nonconforming boy who likes to wear dresses and pretend to be a princess. Of course, he is teased at school, but he is supported by his parents, shown coming to terms with his wishes after being initially uncomfortable, which I thought was very realistic. After a dress thing that Jacob makes from a towel is destroyed, he asks his mother to help him make a real dress, and the result is a purple creation with white frills. This time, with the support of a friend and the teacher, he stands up to the bully and declares that he made the dress and he is proud of it. The ending is satisfying, but children will know that dealing with a bully is not usually that easy. Whether there is a gender nonconforming class in the class or not, this book would be a great discussion starter about gender roles. This will also be a big help to parents to struggle with their children's identity. Cool, huh? Meanwhile, back at the ranch. The author of Swamp Angel has created another larger-than-life tall tale. When the widow, Tulip Jones, of Greater Boar, England, inherits $35 million and a ranch in By Golly Gully, Texas, she packs up her 12 pet turtles and 3 servants and moves across the ocean. There she found that everything is bigger. It says read, so there must be something good here. We hope. She soon found that everything raised on Texas soil grows faster, bigger, and better than anywhere else. Lindsay, Woolsey, and Calico, those are her 3 servants, had to climb a ladder to pick tomatoes. Potatoes got so big that it took only 7 of them to make a dozen. A single watermelon fed everyone on the ranch for a month. Afterward, they used the hollow rind as a hay shed. But alas, they were not to have a calm summer because soon every unmarried man in Texas, and in 1870, all Texas men were unmarried, heard about the rich widow and showed up at her doorstep determined to marry her. To feed the 1,000 men who showed up for tea every day, Widow Jones had to hire a baker to cook for them. After setting them some tasks she thought impossible and putting out a call for 1,000 brides from the east, Tulip manages to get rid of them all but the baker, who turns out to be her true love. Oh, isn't that sweet? Get it? Sweet? Courtesy laughter. Hawk's over-the-top pictures of giant turtles and snaggle-toothed suitors add greatly to the exaggeration and fun. This should be on the Red Clover list. I will tell them. Trooper. This is the touching story of the adoption of a 3-legged dog from a humane society based on Meg Kearney's actual dog. Told from Trooper's point of view, we learn that he was a stray who ran with a pack of mutts, digging around for food, dodging stones thrown by mean boys. Then he and the whole gang were caught and transported to the pound, where they were fed but caged and stared at. One by one, each of his companions is chosen by a family. Till he's left all alone. I can hardly stand this. Says, my heart was a cold, starless night. Quickly, you know I wouldn't show you this unless it's a happy ending. Until finally a boy rescues him and gives him the home and love that he deserves. Anyone who cares about animals will be moved by this story. And for kids who don't know about rescuing animals, this will be a great introduction. Lewis's watercolor paintings show the emotions of the dogs and boy so clearly that they are the perfect accompaniment to the poetic text. You could sit at the very front. Julie is willing to give up her coffee table.
She's finished with her coffee.
She's finished with her coffee.
There's a sip in it.
She is another person who had a very long drive, so she needs a chair. Okay, so this is much fun, and I really would just like to read the whole book to you, which would not be hard because the only word is moo. Well, almost. And the title is, coincidentally, Moo! Oh, what a good bunch of cows I have. Story hour attendees will love this story that is told almost entirely by the word moo in different fonts. Are we having fun already? Yeah. Moo. Oh, you see?
Moo.
Car for sale. Maybe I'll do a little just moo. 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 Moo.
Oh, what fun. Oh, God, that's hilarious.
Moo. I haven't tried this one before. Moo. Moo 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 Moo? Bah! All right, I didn't need to review that. How can you not love that book? It is a classic in the making. I thought I had children to read it to. Maybe somebody will let me read it to their children. When I come with my puppy, when I have a therapy dog, that's my plan.
Thank you, Grace. That was great.
Wait, didn't you hear the rule? No crying until 2 o'clock. I know. Okay. Snowflakes fall. Although McLaughlin and Kellogg created this as a tribute, this is quite a change to the children who lost their lives at Sandy Hook. That's not funny. It's just a contrast. This is not specifically about them, but about the beauty of life cycles and the seasons, and the uniqueness of each life symbolized by snowflakes. It is a very quiet, comforting book full of joyful dogs and children playing. Kellogg's signature style, of rounded children, goofy dogs, and funny details will please children. The only hint of death comes with the last page when the text says, "And we remember the children." And then on the inside back cover, where 20 snow angels rise to the sky. But it doesn't have to be about that. I mean, you can use it in whatever way you feel best.
Love it. Love it.
You will find that because I'm an incredibly understanding and liberal person, I am reviewing 3 cat books. And 2 of them,
We're not recommending this.
2 of them are recommended. Well, this one, I was going to recommend it, and then just wait till you hear what it, come on. You know what? Well,
I think it came
what?
from JLT.
There's no counting for taste. And additional isn't a condemnation, by the way. Additional is just not a first person
Because
purchase.
Because for you.
Slipper had lived for years with his owner, an old lady whom she thinks of as Mrs. Fluffy Slippers. I mean, come on. It is a good life until Miss Fluffy Slippers moves out to live with her daughter, and Slipper is inadvertently left behind on moving day. After a fruitless search by both cat and people and a lonely night Slipper spent lost, she decided to find someone new to adopt. Someone new to adopt. People are shown from a cat's eye perspective and referred to by their footwear, that being all Slipper can see. A number of people are inappropriate for one reason or another, until she finds Miss Shiny Shoes, whom she follows home. Although it turns out, there she finds, much to her delight, that Miss Shiny Shoes is the granddaughter of Mrs. Fluffy Slippers, and the cat is really home. Although the ending is totally unbelievable, I am very happy for the woman. The cat, not so much. Well, excuse me. She searches for her owner for part of one day? Come on, a dog would never give up that easily.
I'm getting it.
Cats are more independent. They don't need us.
Yeah, so I don't need
Dogs
that.
just need.
Need a person, they need something, that cat needs somebody.
You can have your little cats discussion later. When I'm crying. Tap the magic tree.
Doesn't look like a maple.
Did you? I could see that this would be great.
This is hilarious, fun, so much fun.
You want to review it? Well, no, I mean, I love hearing how well it works with kids. Long on imagination but short on science, this book acts like an interactive app as it encourages the listener to tap, rub, jiggle the tree to make leaves appear, flowers bloom, and apples fall. Similar to Toulé's Press Here, this invites participation on the child's part and will be fun in story times for the very young, as we have discovered in Westford. There is a kind of magic to nature, of course, and as an introduction to seasonal changes, this is a lot of fun. So here's an easy reader, Ant and Honeybee, a pair of friends in winter. A solid and very funny addition to this excellent easy reader series. It is the beginning of winter, and Ant and Honeybee are about ready to hibernate. However, in spite of Honeybee's pointed instructions that she wants to be alone, Ant hurries over to keep her company. Bee is grumping and grumpier, but finally is persuaded to get out her emergency rations, and they make the best and tallest peanut butter and jelly sandwich ever. Then, too tired even to clean up, they snuggle together for a long winter's nap. There are puns galore. Apparently there were some on this page. Oh yeah. Ant found a tub full of art supplies. Let's make the world's biggest work of art. You can be the famous artist Georgia O.B., and I'll be Ansel Ant. I have a better idea, said Honeybee. You can be Vincent van Gogh and go home. And there are things for readers to notice, such as the napping house on the way to Bees. Good for new readers and fun for more accomplished ones, too. Who's sick? Nobody's going to admit to it. Amy's three best things. Amy has decided she is old enough to go to Grandma's for a sleepover all by herself. And she is going not for one, not for two, but for 3 whole nights. When she packs, she is sure to take her 3 best things. One from beside her bed, one from over the sink, one in the bathroom, and one from the mantel in her bedroom. The days with Grandma are filled with fun and interesting things to do, but at night she awakens and misses her family. Each night she takes out one of the 3 best things, previously unnamed, and it transforms into something magical that takes her home to make sure that all is as it should be. On the, on the 3rd night, she sails her magical boat to her house, only to find that no one is there, and she returns bereft until she discovers her mother, brother, and dog are all downstairs, having shown up a day early because they miss her so much. The next day, the whole family goes to a fair, and Amy rides the merry-go-round. The final sentence is perfect. Around and around went the merry-go-round with Amy on her dragon, and sometimes she saw her family, and sometimes she didn't. But they were always there. Oh, I know.
Oh.
So this is Elephant Story, which some of you have seen. Well, I'm sure all of you have seen. Some of you have seen all of these. Yeah. Sorry. This is Tracy Campbell Pearson, a Vermont author illustrator. When Gracie lost her favorite book, Elephant found it. But as happens with elephants, he sucked up all the words into his trunk. After sneezing them back out, he could not get the words back into the book in the right order, in spite of asking seal, monkey, and alligator to help. I know. Discouraged, he snuffed them back up, and it took the arrival of Gracie to make everything better. After she tickled his trunk, he sneezed them all out again, and the 2 of them put all the words back in the book. Perfect for children learning about books, spelling, and creative problem solving. a nice piece of metafiction for the youngest. Pearson's characters are messily charming, as always. Elephant's face is so expressive. Watch as two little black pinpoints turn to wide open eyes, and you can see amusement, worry, and concentration done in just a few lines. Best of all, however, is the fabulous alphabet that Tracy created out of elephant shapes. Is that cool or what? Her website has lots of activities for elephant, and I've got some PR for elephant here. I've seen her do a program with kids, and for every kid in the class or story time, she makes an elephant picture for them with the first letter, first letter of their name being an elephant, and then the rest spelled out. She is one of the most generous people that we have in Vermont, and I would recommend her highly to come to your class. Katie Green had her come to her class last year. Was it good?
It was great. She wrote a big K for me, a letter. So, great. Who's it dedicated to? Sorry to interrupt.
It's dedicated to me. I wasn't even going to say that. Unfortunately, I don't get any percentage of the royalties, so it doesn't help me if you buy it. But
This is for Grace, and it's Gracie who lost her favorite book.
right. Oh. Did somebody have a hand up?
Oh, I just wanted to have the same thing pointed out that your daughter,
Oh.
about why the name, because I saw one of them.
Oh.
This was done.
Okay. Well, I won't tell you the whole story, but it's a,
Until 2.
oh yeah, you guys are always ready for stories. Well, it's kind of this was a bad thing that turned into a good thing. Okay, so many of you are aware of this program that we have called the Vermont Early Literacy Initiative, and 2 or 3 years ago, we decided we needed to formalize it a little bit and have a logo made. And one of the people on the committee, this is so hard figuring out a logo, but one of the people on the committee said, well, how about, there's always the problem of, man or woman, girl or boy, baby, toddler, color of skin, all of those things which just drive you wild. So one of the women on the committee said, what if we had an elephant holding a baby elephant with her trunk? And plus she said there's E-L and V-Li, get it? Okay, so I thought this was great. So I ran it by my boss. She said, that sounds great. And I said, I know Tracy would be happy to do it. And so I called Tracy and got her answering machine. And when she called me back, she was so excited because she'd just been at the Eric Carle Museum and seen a display of Tommy Ungerer's art in which there was an elephant. And she had thought at that time, wouldn't it be fun to draw an elephant? And when she gets home, there is this message on her answering machine talking about drawing an elephant.
Wow.
So this was, made to be. Except that then my boss, whom I adore, decided that the elephant wasn't formal enough. And we needed to have something that was you could show to other parts of state government and so on and so forth. So it's a fine but boring logo. So I have to call Tracy up and say, that elephant we talked about, well, it's not going to work out for V-Li. She said, that's fine. I'll just do a book with an elephant in it. So this book wouldn't have happened if I hadn't done this embarrassing, not this book.
Right.
Chris Rashko would have done this book with or without me. So that's the whole story. And Tracy is just grateful because she's such a wonderful person that she, Anyhow, now this is of course a wonderful book because it's about
A dog.
Daisy.
Daisy. Okay, right. Daisy gets lost. We fell in love with Daisy in her debut book, A Ball for Daisy, and now she is back with her girl and her new blue ball playing fetch. That most distracting of animals, a squirrel, appears, and Daisy is off in hot pursuit. Soon she is lost in the woods, and both she and her girl are frantic with worry. Again, oh, see the little puppy all lost. Oh my God. Again, Rashka captures varied emotions with just a few strokes, depicting the fear of being lost, the excitement of the chase, and finally the happy reunion. Nearly wordless, the book's story is told partly through a series of interesting perspectives with a variety of page compositions. And be sure to note the beginning of more trouble on the very last page. Oh, yeah, there it is, another one of those squirrel types. Please note,
Love it.
a recommended cat book. Bits and Pieces. Should we sing? Only the old people know what I'm talking about. Pink, the Siamese cat, is both the star of this book and the 20-year-old pet of the author. Apparently not the brightest. She says he had a brain the size of a frozen pea. And when his two sisters looked in opposite ears, what they saw was each other. He is nonetheless adored by the whole family. They get him a kitten who looks suspiciously like Skippy John Jones to keep him company, and soon they are best friends. On his 20th birthday, he escapes from the house, gets lost, spends the night in someone else's garage, but is returned to his frantic family the next day. A lovely tribute to a well-loved pet. Was I going to read something here? Oh, this is, oh, never mind. I already told you that. About looking through the
It's
years.
at your book fair.
What?
It's at your book fair. This book is at the book fair.
Is that the book fair?
Yeah.
It's fun. And I'm sure all the Skippy John Jones fans will enjoy it. Dee Dee and Me. This is somebody stuttering your name.
I used to be Dee Dee.
Used to be Dee Dee?
Yes.
Okay. Dee Dee, the older sister, controls her younger sister Hannah in all ways. Are you the older sister?
I'm the baby.
She takes the last chocolate chip muffin, takes Hannah's one-eyed teddy bear, monopolizes Hannah's friend when she comes to play. She's nothing like this Dee Dee at all. And admires and then cuts up Hannah's new apron to make it into a purse. Oh. Honestly. And when they discover that Dee Dee is 5.5 inches taller than Hannah, Dee Dee tells her that that is where a person's brains are. Finally, Hannah takes action and refuses to play with Dee Dee because she is busy packing to run away. After Hannah plays by herself for a while and enjoys every minute of it, Dee Dee arrives with a mended teddy bear and play rules are renegotiated. An excellent portrayal of sibling relationships, the only child says. But I've read a lot of books with siblings in them, and I know. Bully. The stage is set for Little Bull's mood when Big Bull looks at him nastily and shouts, "Go away." He then takes it out on the rabbit, chicken, and turtle who ask him to play, calling them names, sometimes their own. He yells, "Chicken," at the chicken, "Slowpoke" at the turtle, and "Pig" to the pig, ending up with saying to the skunk, "You stink." This chicken, Slowpoke, pig. Then a little billy goat stands up to the bull and calls him Bully. There he is. Yeah. Causing the bull to reflect and realize what he has been doing. Yeah, And he ends up apologizing and going off to play with all the little animals. Seeger's story is dramatized by the fact that on each page, as the bull is meaner and meaner, as you can see, he grows in size until all that fits on a page is here, one of his hooves. When he realizes how awful he has been, he shrinks down to normal size. Although the situation is resolved much more easily than in real life, it is a good springboard for discussion.
Not circulating.
Pardon me?
It's not circulating. I've had it up for like a month, and I don't think it's gone out well.
Mine didn't either.
Well, I don't understand why.
I know. I don't understand why.
Aren't there a lot of Laura McCarroll Seeger fans?
I would think that's why I bought it. I'm one.
All right, well, buy it at your own risk.
It went over well at my story.
Thank you, Mary. Anybody take it out after? All right. They love it in Essex Junction. Woodstock, not so much. E-I-E-I-O. So, we all know about McDonald's farm, but did you ever wonder about how it all began? Turns out MacDonald lived in suburbia, had a big yard, and got tired of mowing it. So he got a goat who only chewed through the hedge to the neighbors, then the smartest hen in history, the little red hen, as it turns out. And in spite of his neighbors' protests and concerns, he and the hen prepare the earth, make compost from vegetable matter, add a horse for manure, worms for soil preparation, etc. Soon the formerly angry neighbors are lined up to buy produce and flowers. This is both an amusing story and an introduction to what makes a garden thrive. There are a lot of funny details in the pictures, many puns and signs, and my favorite stupid of all. Now you can't actually see this, but there's all these little purple worms down here, and there's two worms here at a table, and one says, "Come here often," and the other one says, "I'm your other end, noodle brain." Oh boy. Hello, my name is Ruby. A friendly little yellow bird named Ruby is eager to make friends with all. Hello, my name is Ruby, she says to all manner of birds, big ones, little ones, ones that walk instead of flying, and ones that feel big by making an elephant shape out of a flock of birds, a la Leo Leone swimming. But alas, she eventually encounters a large purple feathered bird who is not interested in being her friend, and she is bereft. Another bereft animal. Oh my God, there's so many sad animals in these books. The day is saved when a very large bird introduces her to a whole flock of birds just like her, and he is able to introduce her friends to them. Wide, energetic crayon strokes color her world in shades from sky blue to coral. Form, color, and line are at the forefront here. See how Stead's composition strengthens his thesis.
I got a lot of bird books this spring.
Okay? Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
We're doing a bird theme next week, because there's just been so many new bird stories, and they're great.
Yeah. Except for, never mind. I'm just going to talk about outdoor cats. But I won't mention it. How to hide a lion. With a lion that looks like Facio's Happy Lion and a plot reminiscent of those of many books of my childhood, this is a very satisfying book. All the lion wanted when he went to town was to buy a hat. Was that too much to ask? But the townspeople were terrified of him and ran him off, brandishing rolling pins and baguettes. He ended up in the garden of a girl called Iris. Iris knew he was a friendly lion and proceeded to hide him in various places to keep him from her parents, who were not as understanding. When the inevitable happens and the parents find him, he runs away to the main town square where he camouflages himself between two stone lion statues. Then, in Crichter-like style, he catches two burglars, and finally the whole town understands that he is a kind lion. What does he want for a reward? His original wish, right? And we have very cute lion drawings on the end papers. Cub's Big World. I just remembered, he gets lost too. And there's a sad picture. Oh my Lord! I had not noticed this theme. In the beginning, there was only Cub, and her mother, all curled up in a snowy den. But when Mom pushes her nose out of their world, Cub discovers colors, slippery ice, and the vastness of the world. She is separated from her mother, but knowing that her mother's nose is black, runs after each black thing that she sees. A raven, an ermine, a seal. Then there is this devastating page. You gotta get a devastating page. The world was too big for a cub with no mom. Oh. But you've seen the movie. Pattern was the word I was looking for. Fortunately, Cub. How was the movie? Fortunately, Cub and Mom are soon reunited, and after reassuring words, Cub curls up between his mother's paws one more time. Cepeda manages to add some startling and lovely blues, greens, and purples to this all-white world. perfect for a young child just starting to get a sense of self. And it's also good for new readers.
Show all the ice melting. With that.
Oh,
We're
yes.
not going there.
No.
I imagine you all have Mr. Waffles, but I brought it just in case you didn't, because this is an excellent cat book, and I always am looking for excellent cat books.
And aliens, cats and aliens, what more could you ask for?
Really.
I'm speechless. Another almost wordless book that won a Caldecott honor this year. The premise is that Mr. Waffles is not interested in any of the many toys his person has brought him. But he is intrigued by one thing, a metal contraption which turns out to be full excuse me, of little green aliens who talk in hieroglyphic-like symbols. Buffeted about by the swats of the cat's paws, they run under a radiator and befriend some smart insects who help them repair their spaceship and then escape. The story is told in both full spreads and cartoon-like panels. The cat's expressions are priceless, and I am told that his actions are very cat-like. Best of all are their paintings on the wall of the insect's den, which depict a cat in cave drawing style. And it says show the cover, so there must be something interesting here. Oh yeah, it's a space cover, totally different from the paper cover.
No one will ever see that.
Phew, are we done yet?
Yeah.
And Mr. Weisner actually studied some linguistics to do those.
He said what?
Mr. Weisner actually studied some linguistics to draw those alien hieroglyphics.
So does he speak that? Okay, we're going to move along to younger fiction, starting with Dorco, the Magnificent. Robbie, a fifth grader, is obsessed with magic, much to the discomfort of his family and school, because mostly his tricks go wrong, ending up in a fire or an escaped rabbit. His father is always traveling, his mother is obsessed with her new job, and his little brother does nothing but chew gum. Then Grandma Melvin, actually his great-great-aunt, moves in until her knee surgery. Grandma Melvin is mean and crotchety. Grandma Melvin calls everyone Trixie, which is my favorite part of the book. You Trixies, you. And worst of all, has taken over Robbie's bedroom. But can it be? Grandma Melvin actually knows magic, was once a professional magician, and is willing to spend many hours coaching Robbie and teaching him some basics about life and magic both. There is lots of humor, but an unexpected sad part. Kids will relate to Robbie as he navigates the waters between elementary and middle school, developing some maturity and confidence along the way. But really, the most interesting character is Grandma Melvin, about whom we would like to learn more. Now, excuse me, Deb, you're falling behind.
Oh, I'm sorry.
As you can see, if any of the books that are on the DCF list, I've cleverly put DCF.
Chris, is Dorco on the DCF?
No,
I forgot. No, we don't.
that's why I felt free to put an additional. I had to go change my additionals in 2 or 3 other books because I thought it wasn't right that it did make the DCF list. Okay, Doll Bones. This Newbery Honor winning book explores what it's like to be on the cusp of adolescence, when you play with dolls one day and giggle about boys the next. Zach, Poppy, and Alice have been playing a game for years that involves storytelling and role-playing with their dolls, or action figures in Zach's case. They have personalities and names for all the dolls, and different accents or speech patterns for each. Then Zach's dad worries that Zach, age 12, is spending too much time with dolls, and he throws out the whole collection, thus effectively ending the game. Embarrassed and enraged, Zach pulls away from his friends, but is persuaded to accompany them on a mission to put to rest the soul of a dead girl that Poppy is convinced inhabits the ceramic doll that her mother keeps in a cabinet. The trip is spooky, scary, taut, and full of the unexpected. An excellent, creepy, but not too scary look at growing up and changing friendships. We put that one on the list, Hannah. Okay, I may or may not, oh shoot, I told them, oh no, they are all there. Okay, I may or may not have reviewed this first book, Invasion on the Mountain, when it came out. These 3 are by Judith Edwards, and it's what you call a trilogy. She started out just thinking that she she started out thinking that she would do just the one, but then she kept doing more research and wanted to keep on going. So I think, okay, so this is not actually a review because I read this so long ago, but I wanted to show all three of them to you, and because of the local interest, you very well may want to buy them. So this one is about Will Ryan in the spring of 1933. He learns he must share his beloved Ascutney Mountain with the young men of the 129th Company of the Civilian Conservation Corps. This invasion turns out through many adventures to benefit both Will and his new CCC friends. The book includes historic photos of the camp, road building, and the terrain. And the other ones have a lot more about the CCC. So I think it's something that you in Vermont, I think it's something you might want to own. And for those of you who pay attention to Teresa Faust's announcements on the public's listserv, this is another reason I bought it. The first one is the first one that Teresa is our special services person. And the first book of this trilogy is the first book that she has had recorded for the Division of the Blind and Physically Handicapped. So we're now doing some Vermont books, which is brand new. So you might have some spillover interest from that, and I left an article in there. The Saturday Boy. Derek Lamb is a fifth grader who is the butt of his classmates' torment, especially that of his former best friend Budgie. In addition, his father is in Afghanistan flying an Apache helicopter, and he misses him terribly. Narrated by Derek in a style similar to that of Jack Gantos's Joey Pigza, the book shows that Derek is not normal, but pretty cool in his own right. He revels in comics and relies on his father's regular letters for strength. Then comes the devastating news he is feared from Afghanistan. Derek and his mother have a loving but realistic relationship, but how will they beat this? And what is with Budgie, who can turn from good friend to tormentor in one weekend? First novelist Fleming does an excellent job of depicting the emotions and stress of the family. Salt. In narrative verse, Frost tells about events at Fort Wayne in the Indiana Territory in 1812. The narration alternates between two 12-year-old friends, Aniqua, a member of the Miami Nation, and James Gray, whose family runs the fort's trading post. The boys tell of hunting, exploring, and playing, and the mutually advantageous trading that the families do. The close relationships that the friends have is threatened when the British and American armies prepare to meet at Fort Wayne for a crucial battle, and Native Americans from surrounding tribes gather to protect their homeland. The layout of the boys' narration visually highlight the contrast between their cultures. So those of you who know Helen Frost know that she creates a different poetic form for every book that she does, which is just unbelievable to me. So on the left, we have a poem by James, the settler, and on the right, we have a poem by Aniqua, the Native American. And what she says, I mean, there's no way a normal person would ever figure this out. She says that Aniqua's centered verses expand and contract in the organic shape of traditional Miami ribbon craft, while James' left-justified double-line stanzas represent the U.S. flag's stripes. Wow. I don't know how she carries this out. I mean, I do think she's a genius. There are author notes and a glossary of Miami words. You're going to have to keep explaining to the children that it's not in Florida, it's in Indiana. See, I knew it. I didn't know that about you particularly. Fortunately, the milk. Maybe I was in a bad mood when I read this story that everyone else thinks is hilarious. I just thought it was dumb. But kids seem to be loving it, so what do I know? It's a silly story of time travel and seemingly ordinary events like going out to buy cereal, getting complicated by dinosaurs, aliens, pirates, and piranhas, to name a few of the characters. Kids who love sheer goofiness like Bree Droppa will find this very funny.
It's a great read aloud for older kids.
I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is really fun to read aloud.
You can ham it up.
You could read mood to older kids too, though. Clearly.
Yeah, for sure.
So with that book, fortunately, the milk, I can't keep it on the shelf.
Yeah.
I have a waiting list of second, third, and fourth graders.
I'm not surprised at all. Yeah, it has a lot of appeal. Zebra Forest. At the end of 6th grade, Annie's teacher makes the class write an essay about 3 things they would like to do over the summer. Although she chooses 3 other things to write about, her real wishes are to grow tall, to have an adventure, and to meet her father. Given the stature of her grandmother who was raising her and her little brother, she sees little hope for the first. She lives in a small nothing town way out on the outskirts, so chances of the second are remote. And her father is dead, so the third is impossible. Annie and her brother cope with their aloneness, their lack of friends, and the increasing confusion of their grandmother by going to the zebra forest, which has both birch and dark trees, thus seeming to be striped, and telling fantastic stories based on their favorite book, Treasure Island, or about their father, whom they hadn't seen since they were tiny. When 50 prisoners escape from the prison behind their house, they find themselves in a hostage situation, which is paralleled with the Iran hostage situation going on at the same time. They find that what they thought to be the truth about their family is not so at all. Family secrets long hidden turn their world upside down and cause a great deal of family strife. The ending is hopeful but not saccharine. Emotionally intense, this is compelling and unforgettable fiction. Twerp. Adult author Goldblatt writes his first children's book, setting it during his childhood in 1969 Queens. When 12-year-old Julian Twersky, nicknamed Twerp, returns from being suspended, he is offered a deal by his English teacher. He can avoid reading Shakespeare if he will keep a journal and talk about the incident that got him suspended. Instead of tackling the recent incident, Julian tells a series of stories, mostly about boyhood pranks, some funny, some mean, and many ending with an injury or 2. There is also a love triangle, Cyrano de Bergerac style, which is both funny and poignant, and in which the girl ends up with a 3rd boy. Julian is a good and engaging writer, honest and able to learn from his mistakes. The bullying incident which he finally tackles was truly horrendous, but he did make good on it. The time period creates an odd challenge. There isn't enough to feel we are in the 60s, and yet there are jarring things like the use of the word Negro. Tangle of Knots. In a wonderful, intricate confection of intertwined stories set in a Poughkeepsie like our own, but tinged with magic, most people have a special talent. Katie's is for being able to figure out and then baking the perfect cake for each person she meets. Others have talents for getting lost, spitting, or nefariously stealing others' talents. Katie is an orphan, the only one left at the home, a substitute daughter for the home's owner, Miss Mallory, whose talent is placing children with their forever families. She is so good at it that children now seldom stay more than a few hours at the orphanage, but she still hasn't found the right family for Katie. Katie's past is a mystery, and pieces of the puzzle are told by various other characters, until at the end, with one big knot untangling, it all comes together. A blending of past regrets and future hopes, this is as delicious as the cakes Katie bakes, for which there are recipes throughout the book. Oh, I forgot to bake all of them to bring them to you today. So, 33 minutes until Morgan Sturts kicks my butt. Sam Lewis and Morgan Sturts have been best friends for years, but now in middle school their paths have diverged, and Sam is pursuing his amazing math abilities while Morgan has grown tall and is now a popular jock. How is it possible that soon former best friends are going to be in a real fight? This is a very real look at changing friendships and loyalties with plenty of humor and some poignant insights about growing up. Beau at Ballard Creek. Beau at Ballard Creek, winner of the Scott Odell Award, is a perfect example of it takes a village to raise a child. Beau is a cheerful, energetic 5-year-old who lives with her 2 fathers in a mining camp in Alaska in the 1920s. She was destined for the orphanage when 2 huge men, one an African-American cook and the other a Swede, decided they couldn't let her go. In the village, miners and Eskimos live happily together, and Beau's favorite thing is going visiting from house to house where she is always welcome. A former fancy lady sews dresses for Beau. An Eskimo woman makes her shoes. This is more a slice of life than a plot-driven book, but Hill's details make the village and surrounding area very real. The process of getting the gold out is explained in detail too. The village is a bit idyllic. Is it really possible that those miners from many different countries and the Eskimos who have lived there for centuries would get along so well? I doubt it, but it is lovely to imagine such a thing. Oh, apparently we're now to turn the page. I'll do it too. What fun. The Great Trouble.
Oh, yeah,
This is historical fiction set in London during the 1854 cholera outbreak. Our hero, a boy called Eel, is a street kid who patches together jobs taking care of the animals of Dr. Snow, working as a messenger at a brewery, sweeping up for a tailor, and being a mudlark, someone who trolls the filthy Thames for anything of value. He secretly is paying for his little brother's keep and schooling too, hiding him from their evil stepfather, a seasoned criminal, who wants to put them to work stealing. Tragedy breaks out when first the tailor and then someone in nearly every house nearby comes down with the Blue Death, cholera. Hopkinson spares the reader no gruesome details as we learn what the dying suffer through. People accept that it is the dirty air or the miasma which cause the disease, but Dr. Snow has other ideas. He's sure it is the local water pump that is the culprit. He enlists Eel to help him do a census and some detective work, and together they convince the local officials to take the handle off the pump so no one can drink that water. Hopkinson does an admirable job of creating the setting and the atmosphere, and Eel is a vivid and sympathetic character. However, the fiction and the information vie with one another for top billing, and there may be a bit too much scientific detail for many readers. Dr. Snow was a real researcher, and Hopkinson gives more information at the back. The thing about luck. 12-year-old Summer and her family have had a tough year, and now her parents have been called away to Japan to care for ailing elderly relatives just before harvest season is to begin. For this family, harvest doesn't mean staying on their own farm. It means traveling the country following the wheat harvest. Summer's grandparents step up in the absence of her parents, and they, Summer, her autistic younger brother, and their dog join the traveling crew. Summer has a lot to worry about. Her grandmother, who is always nagging her and threatening to ground her when they get home, also has severe back pain and often cannot fulfill her duties as cook for the crew. Her brother is considered odd and can't make friends. The woman who is in charge of the crew is an exacting boss, and frequently criticizes the cooking that Summer and her grandmother do. And the son of the crew's boss has suddenly taken an interest in Summer, which ends in an embarrassing disaster. When her grandfather falls ill and is not able to drive the combine, Summer steps up to help. The many details about the machinery used and the methods employed in wheat harvesting will slow some readers down and fascinate others. Katahata's characters are richly drawn and hard to forget. The grandmother is particularly well fleshed out, both endearing and totally maddening. This story about family ties and growing up is very satisfying. And now we have a wonderful pig story, The Adventures of a South Pole Pig. This is definitely a book I would have loved as a kid. Funny, full of adventure and spark, and starring a unique creature, Flora, a pig born for adventure. Flora was not one to be content just lying around in the pig pen like her mother and brothers. No, she wanted adventures. And when she saw the farmer training his sled dogs, she decided to become a sled pig. After training for months, she is delighted to be included in an expedition on a ship to Antarctica. Readers will see, but she does not. She is not intended for her sled pulling ability, but rather as food for the expeditioners. And a lot of the humor comes from her misunderstanding. When the ship is wrecked, Flora has a chance to prove her worth as both a friend and a sled pig. Move over, Babe and Charlotte. There's another delightful book pig on the shelf. This would be great as a read aloud. Listening for Lucca? Sienna is obsessed with abandoned things and has a collection of such items. She also has visions, sometimes as dreams and sometimes during the day. She sees places as they used to be decades ago, and after moving with her family to an old house overlooking the ocean in Maine, she starts to see the people who used to live there too. Meanwhile, her 3-year-old brother Lucca has stopped speaking, and the parents are hoping that this move will help him. As Sienna becomes more familiar with their new place, she discovers an old pen that, when employed, writes in the voice of a girl from long ago. And there are nightmares about fighting in World War I. What do they all mean? And what do they have to do with Sienna and her family? A gentle blend of history, mystery, fantasy, and family. The Vine Basket. In East Turkestan, located south of Russia, north of Tibet, and east of Pakistan, the Uyghur people face oppression and the loss of their culture. Now the Chinese government is forcing them off their land and sending girls to work in factories to the south. 14-year-old Marigold has been forced to quit school to support her family. Her older brother has run away, her mother is in a deep depression, and her father is embittered, alcoholic, and a gambler. Her only consolations are her grandfather and her talent for weaving baskets, which she has gotten from him. When, at the market, an American woman sees a decorative one she has woven to pretty up the market cart and offers to buy more, Marigold sees a way to preserve her family farm and continue her schooling. Although the Valley intertwines much information about these people and their place, it is always secondary to the tale of Marigold and her commitment to her art. Kids will admire her strong will and will be absorbed by the family dynamics while perhaps developing a social conscience. Endnotes give more context to the story. Now, oh look, they're over here. Amazing how that works. Half a chance? Yet again, her father has moved Lucy's family, this time to a lake in New Hampshire. He is a famous photographer, always running off to the next assignment, leaving Lucy and her mother to unpack and navigate all the newness. Lucy is delighted to find a boy her age next door, Nate, and together they chart the resident moons and chicks and find perfect shots for Lucy to take to enter a photography contest that her own father is judging. This is a quiet story, but tackles big issues: dementia, making your parents proud, honesty versus trying to help someone, and the power of art to make a statement. Lord's handling of the dementia, Nate's grandmother is slipping away more and more, is as sensitive as her handling of autism in Rules. Lara's gift? Lara has more than one gift. She is very talented at caring for the borzoi, the dogs her father breeds on the estate of a count in Imperial Russia. She also has visions, a talent her mother encourages but her father reviles. Lara is being brought up to take over her father's job, something she wants more than anything. But when a baby brother is born, she loses the right and her father starts talking about marrying her off. Her constant companion, Czar, a borzoi she saved from being culled when he was a pup, turns out to be one of the best, a brave wolf fighter and as loyal as any dog could be. Lara ends up triumphing, and it is supposed to be a happy ending, but I found the outcome devastating. O'Brien does setting very well. You feel the cold are present with the dogs in the kennel. Scenes of wolf-dog fights are well handled. There is a lot of interesting information about borzoi and their raising, and the author incorporates a lot of history and Russian words into the text. Lots of notes, a bibliography, and glossary at the end.
I agree, Grace. I thought the book set up really well, but the ending was, I thought.
Okay, so the people on the DCF committee, I won't mention any names, but they say that's the way it had to be. That's the way it would have been in Russia. I said, excuse me, this is fiction. It could end any way the author wants to end it. But anyhow.
Remember that it's written by a borzoi as well.
It's written by a borzoi, published by a borzoi. It is published by borzoi in print. I'm not even making this up. Lola going green. Move over, Ramona, Judy Moody, Clementine, and Junie B. Jones. We have a new kid on the block, and she is every bit as hilarious and real as any of you. Lola Zuckerman hates being at the end of everything because of her last name. Is there anybody that can relate to that? Sandy Zalazo? But her teacher, who calls the class candy names such as jujubes and candy corn, is obsessed with the alphabet. Plus, she and her former best friend are feuding, and to make it worse, her older brother seems to win at everything. You will root for Lola even when she starts a food fight, gets her dog in trouble for implicating him in the Great Apple disaster, or says mean things to her friends. She is lovable, funny, and a very real kid. Plus, her word misunderstandings are great. She says bald-faced liar for bold-faced liar. And when she tries to say fiddlesticks, it comes off fish sticks. And amazingly, Pakala includes a lot of information on going green, composting, etc. without ever being didactic. Sure to be a new favorite. The Mouse with the question mark tail. Peck returns to the Mouse Society that he introduced in Secrets at Sea with a whole new cast of characters. As in The Borrowers, there is a tiny parallel world to that of humans, but in this case, it is a mouse world, not one of miniature people. In the Royal Mews of Buckingham Palace, Mouse Minor is nameless and parentless, raised by his aunts, the needle mice, always up to mischief. When he gets into trouble at school, he runs away from the bullies and finds himself exposed in uniform in front of a foreign princess come for Queen Victoria's Diamond Jubilee. In quick succession, he finds himself as a yo mouse of the guard, riding in a horse's ear and then dangling from a maid's uniform on the way to Queen Victoria's chamber. The fun here is in the wit and details of Peck and the great revelation at the end, which will delight readers. Prisoner 88. 10-year-old Jake Evans has been sentenced to 5 years in prison for shooting and killing a man who was threatening his father. This is 1885 and in the Idaho Territory and is based on a real story. A 10-year-old boy sentenced to 5 years in prison. Although the idea of a 10-year-old being incarcerated with hardened criminal types is horrifying, all is not bad for Jake. For one thing, he finally has decent meals and a regular place to sleep. Also, the prison warden and a few of the inmates take him under their wing, teach him how to read against his will, and get him a job at a local hog farm. At the hog farm, he sees what a real family can be like, and he learns to care for all of them. Eventually, he is granted his freedom and sent to a foster family because his father has made clear that he does not want him. Hard times for sure, but the end is hopeful. So I don't know, one of the people on the DCF committee, we write to the authors whose books get on the list, and whoever wrote to this one got this fabulous email back from Leah Pelagi saying that she had learned more about the real boy since she had written this, and she had actually talked to a niece of his. So even though this was set in the 1880s, he was the youngest boy of the family, and then he had a child when I don't know, but I've forgotten the details. But so she was able to find out a lot more about actually happened with him, and apparently he was reunited with his mother eventually. That's right, right? Say yes. You people aren't paying attention.
Furiously writing.
No, not you people. These DCF people. You people didn't have to know that. Okay, Rump. Kids into bathroom humor will be intrigued by this title, which purports to be the true story of Rumpelstiltskin. In those days and place, a person's destiny was determined by his name. So a boy named Rump has a lot to endure with taunts and name-calling. Rump is being raised by his grandmother because his mother died just after he was born. Just after she tried to whisper his name but could only get out the first part, Rump, before she died. See, we don't have to go to fourth grade boys for bathroom humor appreciation. It's right here in the room. Who doesn't appreciate exactly? With a lot of humor and a nod to some other fairy tales, Shirtlift makes Rumpelstiltskin into a sympathetic character who has been dealt a difficult hand. To his surprise, Rump discovers he can spin straw into gold. A curse, since when he trades the gold, he must accept whatever is offered, even something he has no interest in, such as the firstborn of the new queen. Determined to discover his full name, he travels through yonder, discovering mythical, magical creatures who are sometimes given a bad rap. Trolls, for instance, it turns out, do not eat people and are actually quite kind. All of the fairy tale elements are here, and it is quite interesting to see how Shirtlift takes them and builds a believable backstory. Counting by sevens. Willow Chance is a 12-year-old genius adopted at birth. She has made a fantastic garden in the backyard of her home, studying botany and soil science until she gets it all right. And she is an expert on disease and the human body. Like most unusual kids, she is a misfit and is close only to her parents. When she arrives home from school one day and discovers that they have both been killed in a car accident, well, it happens right away, so we get past that. She is not only devastated, but alone in the world, no friends and no relatives. An older girl, whom she had gotten to know quite recently, took pity on her and persuaded her mother to take her in. Thus begins the building of an unusual family, including a taxi driver and the incompetent therapist to whom she is regularly sent. Although much of this is predictable, Sloane does a beautiful job of showing Willow's growth and her ability to be a catalyst in helping others. The multicultural cast is quirky but well-defined, and the story is told both in Willow's own unemotional first-person narration and in others' third-person point of view, which reveals her influence on them. I'll just mention that I did a program at Bear Pond Books in Montpelier a couple of weeks ago, and Linda Urban and her daughter, who was 11, I think, were there. And the daughter is, as you might expect, very well read and so on. The daughter has read this book 4 times already.
She loved it, and she was very insightful
Very-
as to what she wanted to review it, or you invited her to
I
review it.
yeah, absolutely.
It was beautiful.
So that impressed me. This is called The Menagerie. What a great premise. It turns out that all of those mythological beasts people have learned about for centuries are actually real and alive, but kept hidden from the general populace. Did you know that? Okay. Logan, this is of course nonfiction. I just happen to be reviewing it in the fiction section. Logan accidentally discovers this when he finds a baby griffin hiding under his bed, and he is led to his weird classmate Zoe, whose family has run the menagerie for centuries. 5 baby griffins have escaped, and they must be found and returned to the menagerie before the secret is out. Contrary to all she has been taught, Zoe allows Logan to help her and her merman friend Blue, since Logan seems to have a way with the animals and is able to understand what the baby griffins are saying. What mythological creature would you like to see? A unicorn? They're really stuck up. A yeti? He's the groundskeeper. Kelpies, a kraken, how about a goose who lays golden eggs? This story has them all, as well as plenty of humor and adventure. The second in the series is already out, and it's possible that it has been placed on a table, because I think the announcement ones are already out. But anyhow, okay, we're almost there. The Real Boy. The beautiful city of Asteri is powered by the lingering magic of ancient wizards. Nowadays, there is only one magician, Caleb, and his assistant, Oscar, to provide magical items for the haughty residents of Asteri. Oscar, an orphan, fares much better with plants than with people, and although he is not identified as such, appears to be autistic. When Caleb is called away to the continent and the magician's apprentice is killed, Oscar finds himself alone, forced to keep the shop open, a job that terrifies him. Fortunately, he has made one friend, Callie, the healer's apprentice. Through her, he discovers that the normally invincible children of Asteri are getting sick and no one can heal them. The powers of magic and an exploration of what is real and what makes you human are tied into the history of the place and the friendship of the 2 children. This is elegantly written and sophisticated, but slow-moving, and will not be every fantasy lover's cup of tea. And the last one in this section is PSB 11. Although this is a sequel, the sequel to the wonderful One Crazy Summer, it stands on its own perfectly well, so we felt free to put it on the DCF list. The Gaither girls are back in New York City after spending an eventful summer with their mother and her Black Panther friends in Oakland. After learning about Black power and equality, they have difficulty in adjusting back to their grandmother's acceptance of inequalities and her desire that they not make a grand Negro spectacle of themselves. There are other changes too. Their uncles returned from Vietnam, their father's new girlfriend, and their discovery of the Jackson 5. There's a lot about the Jackson 5. In Williams Garcia's books, adults are nuanced characters and are just as interesting as the kids. Delphine, at 11, is growing up, perhaps too fast, and her mother, through letters, gives her advice, but wants her not to go too quickly, but to actually be 11. The irony is, of course, that it is because of her mother's desertion that Delphine has had to take on adult duties. An excellent coming-of-age book in the context of the civil rights movement's coming-of-age, too. Okay, so, Etched in Clay. Many of us met Dave for the first time in Laban Hill's picture book, Dave the Potter. An evocative verse, this fleshes out Dave's story a bit more, although a lot is lost to history. Dave was a slave in South Carolina who was taught to be a potter and found he had an amazing aptitude for the job. He also learned to read and write and began to inscribe his poems on the vases he created. This is the story of talent and strength in the face of mighty odds. Both of his wives were sold away from him, as were his children. Later, he lost a leg to a train accident. This is illustrated with woodcuts by the author, and it's told by different voices. The Mad Potter is on the DCF list. Was George Orr the greatest art potter on earth, as he claimed, or was he just an eccentric local attraction in his hometown of Biloxi, Mississippi? He certainly was the latter, and he played up his eccentricities, dubbing himself the Mad Potter, to become one of the most popular tourist spots in the city in the late 1800s and early 1900s. Unfortunately, maybe because of his theatricality, he was never taken seriously as an artist, and he had a hard time selling the art pieces. Fantastically glazed, sensuous creations full of twists and turns. 50 years after his death, in 1968, an antiques dealer stumbled across a treasure trove of Orr's pieces, hidden in the back of a car parts store run by two of Orr's sons. Stunned by their beauty and uniqueness, the dealer bought the whole lot, and later, individual pieces sold for vast sums of money. The city of Biloxi realized that they had overlooked an important native son and eventually had Frank Gehry design a museum to showcase Orr's work. And you will be amazed at the coincidence that on Monday I am going to Biloxi.
Why?
This is, of course, very professional. It's the annual CSLP Collaborative Summer Library Program meeting. We are staying in a place that has both casino and spa in its title. They better let us out of those meetings till we have some time to enjoy it.
I think so.
If anybody wants to give me some money to gamble with, just step right up.
Gamble, take a massage.
Gamble, have a massage. Yeah, but I could have a massage here. Firefly July. Organized by season, this is a collection of very short but not necessarily simple poems. Poets included range from Robert Frost, William Carlos Williams, and Emily Dickinson to Ralph Fletcher, Joyce Sidman, and Ted Kuzer. Melissa Sweet's illustrations are her best yet. Rich colors, evocative scenes, and interestingly placed shapes evoke feelings and sensations throughout the year. I think this is really a beautiful book. Apparently I was going to read you this. Oh, I kind of like this because of... Okay, this is called In Passing. Open-backed dumpy junk truck, stacked full of old floor fans, unplugged, unsteady, undone, free-whirling like kids' pinwheels in a last fresh breeze. What a way to go. Unusual seasonal one.
Yeah. It's in my car, so.
How big were dinosaurs? Although Judge can't have the actual sizes on the pages the way Steve Jenkins did in his book Actual Size, she does an excellent job of giving the reader an idea of the size of 12 different dinosaurs. They range in size from Microraptor, 1.5 to 2 feet long, to Argentinosaurus up to 120 feet long. To put things in perspective, she places something for comparison with each dinosaur. Microraptor is tiny in comparison with a chicken, and the largest weighed more than a herd of 17 elephants. Judge plays with perspective, sometimes showing only the head or foot of a beast, and adds a lot of humor by juxtaposing people with the dinosaurs. They did not live at the same time. End Matter includes a few details about each dinosaur and a bibliography for further information. And then we have at the very end a picture of all of them in comparison. Cool, huh?
That's very great.
I knew you would like that.
Thank you.
The Boy on the Wooden Box. This memoir about a boyhood just before and then during World War II in Poland is the harrowing story of a Jewish child who survived by being on Schindler's List. Before the war, Leon and his family lived in a small village where they were poor, but surrounded by the love and support of family and tradition. When his father got a better job in the city, they moved to Krakow, where at first Leon was thrilled with the things the city has to offer, like riding illegally on streetcars with a bunch of fun-loving boys. But soon the Nazis began eroding their freedoms until they lived in a ghetto and then were sent to a work camp. Their family was split up and survival seemed unlikely. The only beacon of hope was that Leon's father was employed by Schindler, who, through bribery and cozying up to his fellow Nazis, was able to give his people just a little bit of food and eventually save their lives by moving them out of the camp and into one for just his workers. As with any Holocaust story, the details are appallingly grim and hard to believe. Layson does not editorialize or ask for sympathy, he just tells his devastating story. After the war ended, he immigrated to the U.S. at age 19. There he married, had 2 children, and had a satisfying life teaching for 38 years. Until the movie Schindler's List came out, he never told his story. But after that, he felt compelled to share it with whatever group wanted to hear it. He died a year ago without knowing that this book would be published.
So his wife wrote back
Yes.
to the committee members saying how he would have been so moved by this. Pretty special.
The president has been shot. After introducing Kennedy and Oswald, the main part of this book takes place on November 22nd, 1963. Some of you weren't even born then. This is hard to understand.
I was just in Daly Square.
What?
I was just in Daly Square a couple months ago. I went to the 6th floor museum.
Oh, really?
It was amazing.
It takes place on November 22nd, 1963, when JFK was assassinated, through his funeral and Jack Ruby's killing of Lee Harvey Oswald on November 25th. Swanson does not spare the reader any of the gory details and indicates the failings of the officials involved with the aftermath. Photos and maps are well integrated, and the alternation between what was happening with Kennedy and what Oswald was doing creates suspense. This has been almost universally praised, but I had several problems with it, both with the writing and the content, and I felt uncomfortable when reading it. As for the writing, it is repetitive and sometimes grammatically incorrect. He chooses to define some words in the text, but not others that are equally as difficult. He asks rhetorical questions about Oswald, which are unnecessary. His praise and obvious admiration for both JFK and Jackie is over the top.
Just ignore that.
Yeah, that's
Grateful.
not right.
She's getting the last word.
She is getting in the last words. Fair enough.
Some people are more discerning readers than others. Ooh! I won't say who we're talking about. Okay, this seems to be mixed up. So I have 2, and some people are wrong by themselves when they review books, right, Julie? And I understand from members of the DCF committee that it's very popular in their libraries, so. It's gory, yeah, right. So I have 2 of these books that David Macaulay is doing, these easy-to-read nonfiction books. Toilet is,
Yeah, that just flies out. I can't keep it in.
toilet flies out.
Sprays out.
Yeah.
Okay, well, toilet I thought was better than I.
Did you ever imagine you'd say that sentence, Grace?
I have never even ever thought of that sentence in that. All right, toilet. Macaulay continues his excellent, easy-to-read books on how things work with toilet. Toilet deals with how human waste is formed, how the toilet works, and where the waste goes. In addition to the always appealing yuck factor, this satisfies children's curiosity about things that they do or use every day. As always, his drawings are detailed and clear, and he adds humor to many of the pictures with comments from participants or labels or an inquisitive dog. Now, it didn't work as well for me. Oh, I'm showing you the review. Oh my God, okay. In his attempt to put things into context that children can understand, Macaulay teaches about the eye through the lens of a soccer game. And in the process of doing so, muddies the waters by shifting back and forth between the made-up game and the factual eye workings. In addition to that complaint, some of the information is incomplete or confusing. For instance, after saying how important the socket is to the protection of the eye, He doesn't point it out in the accompanying illustration. It's not as strong as the other entries in this series, but I would get it still because they're better than most of the books you have. Oh, no. Okay. My Mother Goose. McPhail's familiar, friendly, round animals and happy children populate the pages of familiar rhymes with a few unfamiliar ones thrown in. Familiar rhymes so necessary to early childhood. In addition to the Mother Goose rhymes, McPhail has added a few pages of concepts, things that go, colors, shapes, and getting dressed, to name a few. Often the subject of one rhyme will carry over to the next, whether it is the theme of size, the presence of sheep, or jumping. Although there have been hundreds of Mother Goose collections over the ages, there are not a lot of good ones currently in print. So add this to your shelf so your patrons will have some choices. Who's that, boys and girls? Who remembers his reign?
Oh, jeez.
I'm pleased to say that was before me. Theodore Roosevelt was bigger than life, enthusiastic and ambitious, and this oversized biography emphasizes his oversized personality. Even as a sickly boy nicknamed Teety, he learned as much as he could about animals and history, writing and illustrating information about animals, and keeping a museum of specimens in his room. Rappaport quickly takes us through the main events of his life: college, 2 marriages, being a member of the New York State Assembly, all the way up to president. We learn about the Rough Riders, his environmentalism, and how he took on the big trusts. As in her other big biographies, Rappaport relies extensively on quotations, all featured in giant print. Those are examples of the quotations. That's examples of the giant print. Payne's pictures are equally large and in your face, with Teddy shown in action, shaking his fist, riding a horse, gesturing to his constituents. A walk in Paris. Anyone who loves Paris will love this whirlwind tour that a little girl and her grandfather take through the city. From the maps on the end papers through the iconic sites of Ile de la Cité, the Tuileries, the Louvre, etc., the reader is immersed in the culture. The little girl narrates as they travel through the city. Grandpa gives travel commentary, and in tiny print there are added facts such as the poodle is often thought of as France's national dog. The layout varies from several spots on a page to a 2-page spread when the subject deserves one. The most iconic symbol of all is saved for the end, where it is a fold-out. We have a lot of these in these books. See, what's that, boys and girls?
March 31st, 1989. That's when it opened.
Whoa!
It was on VPR and it was in Henri Rousseau.
Right.
Yes, it was.
And you have a memory. Where'd you get that? Some of you old people will remember the books called This is London, This is Paris by the Shawshanks. This would be a wonderful, and this is reminiscent of them, I think. This would be a wonderful book to read before a visit or an introduction for armchair travelers. Rubino has done companion volumes on New York and London. Oh, you didn't tell me. You guys are giving me a break. You didn't tell me I did that out of order this once. And one.
No.
That's so nice of you. They know I'm old. Stone does here for black paratroopers during World War II what she did in Almost Astronauts for female astronauts. It is a tale of discrimination, unfairness, and frustration, made all the more significant by the fact that we were fighting a world war against hatred and prejudice while continuing to discriminate on the home front. African Americans who enlisted to fight for their country were segregated from white soldiers and relegated to service duties and menial tasks. When First Sergeant Walter Morris, whose men served as guards at the parachute school at Fort Benning, saw white soldiers training to be paratroopers, he decided to train his men as the white soldiers were trained, so as to give them both a skill and self-respect. His initiative and leadership, along with some luck, led to the creation of the Triple Nickels, the 555th Parachute Infantry Battalion. Although many predicted failure, all but 3 of the original 20 soldiers graduated from their training, and the company went on to grow and become a battalion. However, even though the soldiers were well trained and prepared, segregation, fear, and prejudice conspired to keep them from getting their overseas orders. Finally, they got orders, and thinking they were being sent to the Pacific Theater, were devastated to learn that they were being sent to Oregon to fight forest fires. These men were pioneers, and they were instrumental in helping the armed forces become integrated after the war. Although they never fought in the war, they acquitted themselves bravely and showed the world that black men can be excellent soldiers. Stone included many relevant photos, quotes from some of the original men she was able to interview, and meticulous research, some of which dug up totally new material. There are extensive notes in the back. And this is Beyond the Stones of Machu Picchu by Elizabeth Van Buskirk, who is either Shelburne or Charlotte, I can't remember. Charlotte? Thank you. Author. The subtitle is Folktales and Stories of Inca Life. I have to be totally honest, I did not read it all. It's a beautifully illustrated book. I found it to be more relevant to adults than to kids. They're not necessarily stories that you would read or tell in the classroom or the library, but they do have a lot about Incan life and tradition. Okay, so, oh yeah, there's another section. It's called Older Fiction, I remember. Will and Scarlet. A Robin Hood origin tale. What fun! Will Shackley, aged 13, is heir to the Shackley Manor, and with his father off in the Crusades with King Richard the Lionhearted, is in charge with his uncle's help. When the king's brother, Prince John, makes a play for the throne, he sends Sir Guy of Gisborne and his thugs to Shackley Manor to test the waters. In the ensuing fight, Will's uncle is slain, and Will escapes to the forest, where he meets up with a band of outlaws. Cody takes the time to develop each of the merry men and give them all a backstory, so we come to know them well before their mission of robbing the rich to give to the poor is established. There are plenty of frenzied fighting scenes, scandal and revenge for those who like action, but they are interspersed with times when Will reflects on what he sees and what he is learning, and the reader learns along with him what the feudal system meant to serfs. Although the reader has to suspend disbelief, this is Moxie and the Art of Rule Breaking. Although the reader has to suspend disbelief all the way through this book, it has enough going on to keep you engaged. Moxie, a 13-year-old living in Boston, is looking forward to spending the summer exploring the city with her best friend Ollie. Then a sinister character arrives at her door and demands that her grandfather, who has Alzheimer's and is in a nursing facility, turn over what he has to Sully Cupcakes, a notorious criminal. How could her sweet grandfather have anything to do with a criminal? Turns out the grandfather has a shady past and was engaged by crooks to hide what they stole. Moxie and Ollie used the library, mathematical proofs, a photo album, and their wits to solve the mystery that hundreds of real law enforcement agents have not been able to solve. What happened to the painting stolen from the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum? Yeah, so they figured it out. Moxie and Ollie easily go all sorts of places they are not allowed: the State House after closing, Fenway Park when it was closed, Old North Church after hours, etc. It is all unbelievable but fun, and their deductions admirable. If only it were that simple. Okay, federally better than ever. This is on the DCF list, and I like this a lot. Unfortunately, the cover illustration makes this look much younger than it is, but don't let that stop you from giving it to every star-struck kid you know in middle school. Nate is obsessed with musicals and Broadway, and together with his best friend Libby, has learned every song from every show there is or has been. But stuck in the small town of Yanksburg, Pennsylvania, there is not a lot of opportunity or support for such an interest. So together, Nate and Libby plan his one-day secret trip to New York so he can audition for Elliot in E.T. the musical.
Wow.
He falls in love with New York City immediately, but also experiences the downsides of the theater: stage mothers, overachieving kids, nasty professionals. Federley, who knows most of this firsthand, is an excellent writer combining humor, an encyclopedic knowledge of musicals, and some serious questions about sexuality and family. And there is a sequel just out. So when my close personal friend Julie Pickett first described this book to us, I said, no, I am not reading this book. Because I'll just get it over with and then we'll get into the book. The premise is that this girl's mother tried to drown both the girl and her twin brother when they were 2. And she succeeded with the boy, but not with the girl. So fortunately, this is off stage, and we flash forward 10 years, and the girl is now 12. So all right, of course I say that in here. In many ways, 12-year-old Sarah Nelson is a typical 12-year-old. She is yearning for her first kiss, gets her period, and is sure she is the only 12-year-old in America who does not have pierced ears. So then I tell about the drowning. Simon dies, her brother. Both of her parents are put on trial, and her mother is committed to an institution for the mentally ill. Since then, Sarah and her father move every time their background becomes known in town, and her father takes refuge in drink. Sarah worries that she will inherit either her mother's mental illness or her father's alcoholism, and looks for signs in all the things she says and does. In the summer in which this takes place, Sarah confides in Atticus Finch through a series of letters, hangs out with the 20-year-old Charlotte across the street, falls in love with Charlotte's 19-year-old brother, who, like Sarah, is obsessed with words, and finally, for the first time in years, goes to visit her mother in the hospital. Not all of her questions are answered, but she learns how to deal with being her mother's daughter, and in spite of the subject matter, there is a lot of hope and humor in this book. This, Harrington's first middle grade novel, presents another look at the characters from her adult book called Janeology, which is about the mother. Did you read that, Hannah? You said you were going to.
Yes.
How was it?
Great.
Okay. Excellent. And we stay. After Emily's boyfriend kills himself, oh, here we go again. After Emily's boyfriend kills himself in front of her in their school's library, she is sent away to boarding. Oh, it wasn't the killing that got you upset, it was the school library, huh?
What a mess.
What a mess. But they have editors, yeah, who like libraries. Anyhow, the last part of the sentence is, she is sent away to boarding school. Slowly, through poetry that she feels compelled to write and flashbacks, she reveals how she was involved in his suicide and the guilt that she feels. Her boarding school is in Amherst, Mass., where another Emily, Emily Dickinson, lived and wrote poetry. Emily Beam feels a connection to the other Emily and is inspired by her voice. Hubbard is equally successful in her prose and poetry as she helps a teen overcome tragedy and begin to be integrated into the world again. This is Reality Boy by A.S. King. Boy, do I like a new premise, and this sure is. 12 years ago, Gerald Faust's mother invited a super nanny reality TV show into their house in an attempt to mend their family. The mother targeted Gerald as the problem child, while it was actually his psychopathic older sister, who, according to her mother, can do no wrong, who was the problem. Gerald was already angry at his treatment before the cameras arrived, and he was furious afterwards. How did he fight back? By pooping everywhere he shouldn't.
Oh my God.
There were no dead parents in
The
this.
library?
Good one, good one. This is just filmed at his house, so on the table, in his family's shoes, in the closet, you name it. Soon he earned the nickname of the Crapper, and 12 years later, he has not shaken it. Now a junior, he is learning to control his anger, but has no friends, has been dumped into the special ed room, and is still treated horribly by his family. His mentally ill sister, Tasha, is still protected by the parents, even though she is not working but lives in the basement with her boyfriend, with whom she regularly has very noisy sex. This is not for elementary school, okay? At work, he starts to fall in love with another cashier who has problems of her own. How the two learn to reach out and trust one another and deal better with the world makes an engrossing and anxious-ridden read. This was actually good, boys and girls.
Got a lot of stuff going on.
you know, you got to cope with it. You just have to. Perfect.
Hello. Isn't it great to be alive?
It's a wonderful day to be alive.
I hear this book talking to me. That's what the baker says. Who else has read this?
So good.
Okay, so
But not for the light at heart.
pardon me?
Not for the lighthearted. It's a years.
All right, this book becomes very dark. It's called Far, Far Away. Eerie, fantastical, scary, magical, and totally enchanting. This is a modern-day fairy tale that blends elements from the old fairy tales and is narrated by Jacob Grimm himself. Only Jeremy Johnson Johnson can hear Jacob Grimm, a ghost caught in the Zwischenraum. Oh, I should have...
Zwischenraum.
What?
Zwischenraum.
Exactly. Between mortal life and the hereafter. Grimm has been a constant presence since Jeremy was 6, trying to protect Jeremy in the absence of his mother and the inability of his father. Jeremy and his pal Ginger, who has fallen in love with him because of the magic power of a particular pastry, watch out what you eat, have become the town pariahs because of an innocent prank, and everything they do is watched closely by the seemingly benevolent baker and an odd dwarfish deputy. There are moments of humor, some of peace, and then finally terror as the fairy tale becomes pure evil. Beguilingly written, this creates a world that hovers between realism and enchantment. So there. Wake up missing? 4 teens with head injuries land in an elite medical center in swampy Florida. Promised their old lives back, they soon start noticing that things are not as they seem, and that the clinic is really run by a mad scientist type who is trying to bring back scientific geniuses to life with the DNA of the scientists and the bodies and minds of these kids. It's the kind of thing you would encourage on a science fair for your kids to do. Getaways, chases, alligators, and a resurrected genius keep the suspense high. Kids new to this genre will enjoy it, and it is definitely an intriguing premise, and Messner tells some of the science behind it in an endnote. But the characters are not well developed, and this is a far cry from a really successful novel in this genre, such as Nancy Werland's Double Helix. Now, who knows where the next 2 books are?
One of them's on the back table, Eleanor and Marcus. Or what? Yes.
Eleanor and Park and the Golden Boy?
Back there too.
Could somebody grab them and pass them up front? And I'll start talking about the reprints, revised editions, and series entries, and this is what happened those 2 guys. Look what a helpful person she is. Thank you, Lisa. You're welcome. Okay, we'll start talking about that because I can talk about these. 2 of the best books on the list. So you probably, those of you who serve teens probably all have Eleanor and Park. And if you haven't had a chance to read it, do read it. It's a fabulous book.
And it's on the GMBA list.
And it's on the GMBA list. There has been so much written about this book that it will be impossible to say anything new. It is a beautiful, totally unique love story between 2 outsiders who end up sharing a seat on the bus. Park avoids talking to Eleanor for quite a while. He doesn't want his precarious social standing to tumble even farther than it already is. And it is clear that heavy Eleanor with out-of-control red hair, ribbons, and decorations all over her clothes is at the bottom of the social heap. Their communication begins slowly enough. Park sees that Eleanor is reading the comics he does, and he holds them so that she can see better, and then starts loaning her comics overnight. Then there is the shared music, the hanging out, and the falling in love. But Eleanor has secrets. She has a terribly abusive stepfather who threw her out of the house for a whole year, and a weak mother who does not defend her own children. Told in alternating chapters, some just a paragraph long, by the 2, this is powerful, disturbing, frustrating, and beautiful. And Golden Boy is the last one, and this is probably the oldest one on our list in terms of interest level. Although fiction, this treats a serious problem that is not well known in the West, the maiming and killing of albinos in Tanzania. They are called 00s, nothings, and are considered subhuman by many. Some people think that their body parts are magical and will kill them in order to sell various pieces of them. This is true. This is still actually happening in Tanzania. It is into this world that 13-year-old Habo was born, an albino feared and reviled by his fellow villagers. His brothers will have nothing to do with him. His mother won't touch him, and his father has left the family because of him. Only his older sister treats him like a human being. When drought and extreme poverty forced the family to leave their village near Arusha and travel through the Serengeti to Mwanza, where the mother's sister lives, they encounter an evil elephant poacher who soon turns his attention to capturing and killing Habo. Terror, hiding, and flight become Habo's world as he tries to make it to Dar es Salaam, where they do not kill albinos. A chance encounter in Dar es Salaam with a blind woodcarver brings Habo both shelter and eventually a trade and the realization that he is a worthwhile human being. Beautifully told with well-developed characters, this is an important and affecting book. So,
Just to add to that, I was just in Panama.
Were you?
People have many albino children, and it's considered an honor.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Huh.
Why do they have so many?
They have a lot in Tanzania. And she talks about it in the afterward. That for some reason statistically there are just a lot of albinos born in Tanzania.
In Africa.
In
But
Africa.
she's talking about Panama.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's interesting because they have no pigment in their skin or their hair, but they're not blind. They have pigment in their iris.
They don't have any problem seeing?
They don't have problems seeing, but of course it's very hot. They live on
Right.
these islands, and they just get blisters
Yeah.
all over.
Well, that was one of the things that's talked about a lot in this book, is that he's living in the hot African sun, and so he always had to wear long sleeves. He had to stay inside or in shade, and so was not useful for those reasons, too. Yeah, and actually I read two different statistics, but the incidence of albinos in Africa is something like 10 times the incidence of albinos in the West. So apparently the reprints, revised editions, and series entries are gracing the table in the back. And that's just fine. I just will mention a couple of things. Some of you old people, I love saying this, will remember Ruth Chu books, which were very popular in the 60s and the 70s. Those are perfect fantasies for like third graders. And they are back in print. And I had a couple of Paul Galdon's picture books back in print maybe the last time. Oh, they're over there. And now we have Jack and the Beanstalk and Rumpelstiltskin, or Rump, as you may prefer. David Macaulay's Castle, I don't know if some of you saw that. It's totally redone and it's in color. So I wouldn't throw away the old one, but I would get the new one too and have kids compare it. Most of these are totally, so there's a whole bunch of Shel Silversteins that have been reissued. Certainly you know Where the Sidewalk Ends. I don't know if you all know A Giraffe and a Half. I used to love to use that with school-age kids.
And Lafcadio was great.
What's great?
Lafcadio.
Lafcadio. I'm not as familiar with him. Okay, so professional reading, and since I know there's a couple of new people here, I'll just say, again, I have not read these books. These are just announcements of books that I have in my professional collection. Any and all of them are available through interlibrary loan. And in fact, I don't have all of them because they've already been interlibrary loaned. So I'll just show you what they are and pass them around, and then you can look at them later. So this is on summer reading and a few articles on how to try to close the rich-poor reading achievement gap. Cooking Up a Story Time has been taken out. And I didn't bring the best books for high school readers and the best books for middle school and junior high readers because they're too heavy. But those come out every so often, and you're obviously welcome to borrow them if you're trying to upgrade or update your correction.
Yeah.
Correct your collection. Okay, music programming called Let's Start the Music. They're coming fast and furiously now. Folktales Aloud. Janice Del Negro is an excellent storyteller and librarian. Transforming Preschool Storytime. This has a lot of information about early brain development and the importance of repetition and using things in different ways. Then this little thing, I got for free by attending the after-school conference, and the person that put this together was the speaker, and these are all articles about how wonderful after-school is. There's only one tiny section on libraries, but hey, at least it's there. Okay, including families of children with special needs in libraries. I'm sorry, but they are coming fast and furiously.
Yeah, they are.
A few of these are not brand new, like Mind in the Making. This was recommended to me, the 7 essential life skills every child needs. Don't ask me what they are. Multi-ethnic books for the middle school curriculum and programming for children and teens with autism spectrum disorder.
Sorry, Grace.
You're doing an excellent, excellent job, Deb. I'm going to recommend you. Okay, Randolph Caldecott. This was actually written by Leonard Marcus as a children's book. I think there will be a lot more interest in it for the adults. I have read it. It's totally interesting and delightful, but I would be hard pressed to figure out a child who would be interested in it. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, the Newbury and Caldecott Awards. That's an ALA publication that comes out every year. Just updates it by the new things. School Library Makerspaces is out. It's already very popular. The Year in the Story Room, ready-to-use programs. People are already using them because that's out. Then a couple of 3 Pam Schiller books, which I'm sort of catching up. These were recommended to me to have in the collection. The one I found, okay, so some of you know my wonderful ex-assistant, April. And when this came in, oh, look who's here. She came for the food, boys and girls. So this was sitting up on the shelf, and April said, yes, I do. I said, what? I know the Muffin Man. I know the one that bakes at Shaw's. She said, I've been waiting for somebody to ask me that for months. So, anyhow. So some of you have asked me, April, some of you have met her, a lot of you haven't, but April left in November because she finished her MLS through the University of South Carolina, and she is now a real librarian working for VTC. And the good news is that I have a wonderful replacement named Aiden, who actually worked for the Department of Libraries already for a year and a half or so, and he is equally as good as April, and I never thought I would be able to find anybody.
Yay.
Quieter, but. So
Does he know the Muffin Man?
I didn't ask him that, but he's got a really good sense of humor, but you have to listen very carefully. Okay, what else have I got? After School Clubs for Kids is out. I know, I mean, these things happen. People like these books. So many of you know Michael Sullivan or have heard him or read books by him. We had him at the DCF conference a few years ago, and he's written a comprehensive, very understandable guide to children's services in public libraries. Tween Games rule seems to have gone away. This is so exciting. I'm going to read this when I'm retired.
Oh, yeah.
Conducting action research to evaluate your school library. Using dogs. What, dear? Oh, Lita, you shouldn't have. And I was very pleased to see the Trim Jalise has done another edition of the Read Aloud Handbook. I thought he was done, but in fact he has one more. Most of the books in it were in earlier editions, and he did say that this will be the last one he does, but he hopes that somebody else will continue. I have found this very useful over the years, both for information on the importance of reading aloud. If you have trouble with your administration or teachers not understanding the importance of it, he has really good information, plus a fabulous list of books with annotations of ones that read aloud well. And
I offer that to parents quite often. Yeah, I do.
good, yeah. Yeah, you shouldn't have it just as referenced in your library. You should have it as a circulating copy. And the last is the second edition of Poetry Aloud here, which is sharing poetry with children. And that is that, my friends. Well, thank you very much. And not all of you, I'm aware, know Lita Schubert. Lita used to be my other half. Well, I had a half at work and a half at home. But for many years, possibly 20, we did these together. And we did them, when we first started, we did them at 6 locations around the state 4 times a year. 24 presentations. And then we sort of started having fewer and fewer, and now we're down to none. But Lita faded away. Well, we were talking about that. She never got the farewell parties and everything because, as some of you may remember, she went down to working 10%. And then she just left. So anyhow, she is going to share in the celebration today, and if you haven't met her, get to know her. She doesn't like dogs.
She did write a few books.
Grace has my dog's baby brother, so we are connected forever. She tries to explain to me how we're now related, but I do go to her house every single week, so our dogs can play together. Aww.